Live from New York, to a Peacemakers meeting sponsored. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Peacemakers meeting, live from New York City. This is sponsored by the Institute for Individual and World Peace. And through participating with IIWP, we're learning more and more to hold a place of peace for ourselves and others, and to be conduits for that peace out into the world, sort of like walking light columns, which is fitting because from this Peacemaker meeting, the group of us is traveling to the 9/11 Memorial in order to do light columns and blessings of peace. And you're invited to keep online in order to see if you can participate in that. We're looking to continue the link so that you can join us online. Peacemaker meetings do have a format. One of the aspects of it is the Loving Each Day for Peacemakers book. If you have that book, you might want to have it handy and access it. Beyond that, I want to turn it over first to Debbie Roth, who will help you with your online transmission, and then over to our guest of honor, John Morton. Thank you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. So I'm going to be brief so that we can have John come up. So I just have some information for those of you who are online, and I love all of you guys here in the room. So if you're tuning in online, you'll see a link on your screen that will take you to all meeting handouts. So let's just start with the first handout. It's the welcome handout. So first is to turn off any other computer programs unless you are planning on sharing during the meeting. To share during the meeting, you want to sign into Skype and have your earbuds or headphones on and make sure your audio and video devices are all set up. For those of you who have already emailed us your Skype name and you would like to share, you can email us at iiwponline1@gmail.com. You should also see that coming up on your screen. If you're called on, you'll receive a call via Skype from IIWP Online. Video answer the Skype call and mute your broadcast while you're sharing. The second page of your handout is a quote and a question from the Loving Each Day for Peacemakers book. So when we get to that portion of the sharing, if you don't have a book handy, that you can just use that meeting handout for the sharing. So that is about it. A lot of detail. Hopefully it made sense. And without further ado, let's call forward our beloved Peacemaker, John Morton.
Thank you, everybody. So I'm just making sure I'm being heard. I can hear in the room. And also, this is being, I think it's filmed for a documentary about transformation and all things transformation. So maybe later we'll be able to see through that spectrum and lens on what we're doing as a work of peace. So welcome to those of you who are joining us here in the room, and our intention to go out nearby. We're in the Trinity Church house, which is directly across the street from Trinity Church. And I think you probably, those of you who are tuning in and to the story that followed 9/11 and the day and the days following, that Trinity Church played a very active role in a number of ways. So it was a place, I think, in the immediacy of it, that was a kind of like a clinic and care center. Then it became a hub for all the, or not all, but I'm sure a portion of the activities that were necessary to attend to all that was going on in the efforts to find survivors, and then in the whole thing that went on with the cleanup and what's taken place in all these many years since. In a little while, we're going to place what we call moments of peace, and I recall one of them was done around a month after 9/11. We were here in New York. When I say we, John Roger and myself, as previously scheduled, that there was an event. I don't remember the event, but I think it was in the Empire Hotel up near the Kennedy Center, because I was walking by there the other day and remembered it. And so we came down informally to do a moment of peace, a blessing here on site, and it was still very raw in what had happened recently. That there was still, in some ways, I think, an ongoing effort to find survivors, that they hadn't quite turned it into a cleanup and restoration phase. And then we came later, I think a year or two later, into the actual site where the cleanup was more or less done, and there was a beginning of the planning and what would be here. So I'm looking forward today to visiting what has taken place since, along with many of you. I would like to say something in case anybody's new to what our work is, as a way of introduction, that we consider ourselves as an organization founded by John Roger, the Institute for Individual and World Peace. He's also founded the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness, which is a focus on the soul's purpose in this world, and finding that as an awakening, and what we call soul transcendence as a reality of becoming who we are in our true nature. So we have a ministry, so we're here as ministers to do the work of the light, and that the light is the radiant energy of a divine nature. We look at what we do as non-denominational, kind of open to what God's blessings would do through us, and however we may participate in that. It always begins with each of us personally. So we're going to call ourselves forward in the light. It's an invocation and prayer. We invite you to, in your own way, do that attunement. That, to me, that is a direct connection to the work that is peaceful and brings peace for ourselves, for one another, and whatever needs there are that would be served by greater peace. And to open that up so that we can behold, we can be those who are creating peace on earth and opening up to peace. So I'm going to do the invocation. We're going to chant a name of God, one of the many, many names for God, Anai Hu. And you can chant along wherever you are. You can do that outwardly, silently. We'll do it here in the room. And then we'll move on to what else we have planned for today. Dear Lord, we welcome your presence in the Father, Mother, God, that is the light of the Christ and the Holy Spirit, to surround, protect, and fill each one of us here. That we bring this forward as a consciousness of peace and a reality of peace that we can invoke in this place, in the place that is known around the world for a day called 9/11, and that we bring in whatever can be done here all the way to the core of the earth as a blessing. And to the people in this place, in New York, all around this country and the world, that we extend this light action, serving the highest good of all concerned. And we ask that whatever else can be brought forward, so there's greater harmony, there's greater knowing that we do love one another, so that whatever are the causes of violence and destruction, hatred and againstness, can be cleared, dispersed, that we may find understanding, we may find fellowship with one another welcoming and embracing our differences in ways that cause friendship and mutual good. And that we can see a place that welcomes all from around the world who come in peace. And that we honor those who were sacrificed for this cause. That their lives kindle this light of peace. Berush Beshan, which is a way of claiming these blessings are done. I'm just going to say a bit more about the Institute for Individual and World Peace. It is an organization that John Roger founded probably about a little more than 25 years ago. And we study individual and world peace. So I look at us as an organization, a cause for greater awareness, greater consciousness of peace, that we're not actively involved in politics or demonstrations other than to live in peace. And we've done many trips around the world, inviting participants to come along for this purpose. So we've been to places like Israel and Egypt, Greece, parts of the Middle East such as Morocco and Jordan. We've also been to the former Soviet Union. And some of you remember that John Roger talked to a group in 1988 about the Berlin Wall coming down in less than 2 years, thanks to a worm of light that he told the group about, that we all were invited to go to the wall and do our own meditation to see this magical worm eating away at the wall. And history tells us in less than 2 years the wall did come down. And the causes that would keep a wall dividing a country, dividing the world in ways that keep us in separation rather than in peace. So it is this kind of work that we continue to do, and that we're come here to this place today to gather in peace and the causes of peace, and to awaken that in ourselves and one another, to share that now through this wonderful technology that we have that takes us online and invites those of you who are tuning in from around the world to bring your peace, awareness collectively, so that it's all contributing to greater peace here and wherever it can be done. I think it'd be a great opportunity to get ready for our moments of peace, but I do want to relate principles that we have discovered in our work. We have workshops and classes that study peace, that we have Peacemaker gatherings of varying kind. And we have 4 principles that we've identified in this work that are the keys of peace, that we would consider that if everyone is active in your own way, in your awareness of these principles, that it makes a contribution such that you are in a direct experience of peace and sharing that peace with whoever and whatever is with you. The first principle is peace is present. It's here. It's wherever you are. It's regardless of time or place. So it's also past or present, but it's here. Peace is a choice available regardless of any conditions. So we each can choose peace. And especially this is important to recognize when it seems as though it's a choice that we cannot choose, that we're in a difficult circumstance or we're aware or focusing upon something that is in conflict, however that is. So I especially encourage us to choose peace when our own awareness is in difficulty with that choice, to make that commitment to choose peace, to offer a voice of peace, a hand of peace, or maybe just be still in the peace. Our third principle is peace is an inner process. So it begins within, in a way it ends within you, within each person, and to also consider it is within each circumstance, each thing. So if we come upon a place such as this, that is a place that reminds us of destruction and disturbance, whatever we see this day, that we would see the peace within this place, that this is a place of peace. And the fourth principle is something I first heard from John Roger. Peace is the cessation of againstness. That it is necessary to understand that peace isn't working through againstness. So stop it. Stop it with ourselves, and in some ways encourage others to stop their againstness without againstness. So I'm reminded of Gandhi, and what he brought forward in the world, like how do we stop violence without violence? And often that is not an easy choice. It's not a choice that is necessarily popular or well received, but it is the choice that we are encouraged to make, that we can create greater peace simply by refusing to be involved in any form of againstness. And that would include judgment of others, and especially judgment of ourselves. That there's something that can come to each one of us when we stop the againstness in any form towards ourselves. So there you have our main principles, and we're going to hear from, I think, John Roger for sure in all of these moments of peace, and I think I'm part of that as well as perhaps some others you're going to recognize.
All the places I have been, and all the things I've learned within, tell me why these things stay in my mind as I watch the days go by. All this time I've waited for my dreams to take their shape. At this time I've faded into something more than what it takes. I search the world for reason and find it in the place that I call home, back where I started. Yeah, all the answers.
We're here today at the World Trade Center area, among people, the moment of peace. It's a fantastic sight to see. Many perspectives can be taken of that of tragedy, disaster, and also parts of looking like a modern architect or some sort of dramatic thesis on reality. It's hard to say which end is going what direction. Let's hear from John.
Well, let's visualize something here in this place of peace, that there's a very beautiful radiant light. It has many colors going vertically right into the center of the earth, and then it extends up as something that we see in red, white, and blue. And there's a shimmering part of this that's like a fountain. So if you look there, what you see is things that are being cleansed and purified. And you also see that there's energies that are coming down from above, touching into the earth, bringing a most beautiful sight. So if you could just hold that. And the light of peace is going around the planet this time as we anchor this light as a column into the earth and into the radiant energies above.
To all of you who are now watching this, we would like you to go into that inner place of spirit inside of you and to visualize the spirit of love, of light, of God going to all the disincarnate entities that are still in the area, that they may be lifted into the higher spheres, that they may find the redemption quality of peace. It's us now that have to step forward and fill the breach where they were before. So spread your light, spread your love in your heart, and give joy and cheer, for we have to bring it back to the planet. It's a hard time, but that's when it's required. May we appreciate it.
And find it in the place that I call home, back where I started. Yeah, all the answers that I need to know, I need to know.
Tragedy site in New York City that was going to become a peace monument to the integrity of the United States of America and its people. Not today. It's coming. They're working.
Is my mind playing me? Is my mind playing me? Is my mind?
Yeah, glad to be here. Glad to see them getting it cleaned up, and it's a good job. Something to be proud of, even in the midst of a tragedy.
In my ear, you make me see what I don't want to look at.
Well, now that we've finished seeing the site, it's going to be a great reconstruction to be seen by all the world. And some of it will be beautiful, some of it will not be. Because they're going to have to pull down a lot of buildings to put up what will stay and be part of the New York area.
Is my mind playing me again?
Some people said, JR, can you comment on the World Trade Center situation? And I said, well, all the information isn't in yet. All I can tell you is, yeah, it wasn't nice. And sure felt like everything had been junked on us. But I went looking into it. I went looking into it metaphysically. Went looking by way of the Spirit to find out, why would this be? Is there a mystery? Is there an answer? Is there a quarrel someplace? What is it? And I looked at a lot of it just to see, is this an end time prophecy being fulfilled by way of this disaster? And I didn't get an answer to that it was that. So I looked more deeply and I prayed rather heavily. My prayers are not, God change this or change that, because why should he? He made it and it's got to be just correct the way it is. But I asked him to give me the strength to see it and to endure it and to live through it and get on the other side of it. And he did that. And for that, boy, I was on my knees being very thankful. And then I was told by an angel, look into this place, and I looked. And in that place, I saw this world American soul, or the soul of America. And there was questions going on in the Spirit that this was happening, it was foreordained. And the soul of America, which is a combination of every one of us in the greater sense of our purpose, had combined and agreed in spirit to put ourselves on the line of life and to bring forward the living possibilities instead of the death and the destruction that would be there. For it was said in spirit that that whole area was to be destroyed. And the repercussions would be even more destructive, because the materiality would be destroyed, but then we would have to deal with our own spiritual, psychological reality and how we would do that and the difficulties we would have. But this great oversoul, in connection with those souls who chose to be part of that, entered into the great sacrifice that precedes the greater sacrifices, when we are willingly giving up to the purpose of the Lord, not knowing often what the purpose is, but somehow finding within us the ability to trust in that appears to not have trust, to be willing to believe in that shows no effort or sign of being believable, and bringing it back to each one of us individually once again, that you were made in the image of God and that Spirit, and that's where we're coming forth, and that's where we're going. To bring joy, to bring laughter, to bring joy into the world by way of our own personalities, by way of our children, by way of people we see and know. In every way, it becomes a conduit to the heart. Baruch Bishan.
So thank you, John Roger, wherever you are this fine day. And we send you our peace. We're going to focus for a few minutes on our own intentions for peace. And let's just consider they're already present. Maybe you're aware in words what your intention is right now for peace. And maybe they're new words. They're going to come forward, and we're looking for some words that would match up with your experience of what you're looking for in peace for yourself, for whoever is your love, your light, wherever you frequent. So maybe you have a geographical area, and maybe you're kind of like me, you frequent lots of places. Whatever that is that you would look upon your intentions for peace, we're going to refer to some information from this book, Loving Each Day for Peacemakers, from John Roger, because it's a particularly clear book on how to find our intentions for peace and then do something about it. In the book, it's arranged so that there is a quote on the left-hand page, and then on the right-hand page is an action, is something to do related to that quote. And so throughout the entire book, there's an opportunity to consider the words of peace and the awareness of peace, and then immediately be invited to do something about it, to bring greater action. And an intention would not be relevant if it didn't have actions moving in accordance with what that intention is. What is that intention? It has purpose, so that it becomes an action, it becomes a manifestation. And so the intention to have greater peace then involves actions that create greater peace. So I'm inviting, not necessarily knowing how this will exactly work, but we'll find out in our discovery process. Those of you who are online to participate, so that's information that is available to you. It's an option. We'll see how it works so that we bring forward some of your sharings. And then we're also inviting those of you who are here in the Trinity Church house with us today to share your intentions for peace. So I'm going to begin by sharing what is shared on page 126. So if you have the book, you can follow along if you like. It's a simple statement. I know that peace in our time on this planet is possible. So right now, it's possible. What is one simple little thing I can do today within myself or with another to participate in this possibility? Would anybody care to share one simple little thing? Maybe it's a big thing. That we'll make some room for that you can do today within yourself or with yourself or another to participate in this possibility for peace. So the lines are open. If you want to share something in this room, raise your hand. We have a microphone. Is the intention to bring them a microphone or have them come up? Come up. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, and then I'll be in some way looking for, it looks like we do have somebody from online, but we're going to start with Stephen here in the room.
Thank you. Hi, John. Thanks for coming.
Sure.
What came to me during that suggestion that John just made was that inside myself, which I've done a lot lately, and it seems to be a really good thing to do, is whenever I meet somebody or have any interaction with anybody, is to have the intention to bless them and release myself from any agenda. Thank
How's
you.
that working so far?
It's working really good. Sometimes releasing from the agenda part is a little tricky, but I'm getting better at letting the blessing come through me and letting that be there. And it's really making my life feel much more open and peaceful and alive.
Did you do any of that on the way over here today?
I don't know.
All right. Would you like to do some of that when you leave here today?
Yes.
Okay. Notice how that works? I mean, what's an intention if it's going to be later? So this is how I find it works in my life. It needs to have a moment today, like today's the day, and to look at what we're doing today. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
So you guide us. How does this work with online?
It's coming up.
Okay, there it is. So it's on the video. Looks like somebody I recognize.
Oh, hi, John.
And by the way, Natalie, we're not quite seeing the top of your head in case that's something you would like us to see.
There you go. Oh, I feel very moved that I'm here with you guys.
All right. So, do you have something?
My question is, John, I've been experiencing.
Where are you located, by the way?
I'm in London.
Okay, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Across the water.
Thank you.
Okay.
I keep hearing an echo. I've been experiencing great waves of negativity, almost like attacks, constant attacks going on, more than usual. And I've been hearing that you have said that there's greater light focus coming into the planet at the moment. And therefore, the negativity is attacking more consistently. So I don't know if you have anything on that for me, or just generally.
I'm going to interpret that as an invitation.
Please.
to share. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, this is my experience is that what we are doing with the light always is functioning as a triumphant energy, consciousness. It will prevail. And there's a scripture that the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I consider that's what we're dealing in, and that's a witnessing from spirit, or a proclamation, or something that expresses, well, how is it for us? And that it's not unique to a time or a situation, that it's something that works eternally, regardless of the situations. So wherever you are in London, or wherever you are, whoever else is with us right now, that you have the opportunity to be aware of this greater light, this light that will overcome whatever the darkness is, whatever the difficulty. And of course, I'm looking spiritually. I'm looking at something that transcends circumstances where there can be great destruction, great negativity. There can be darkness, however you would see that, whether it's physical darkness or the kind of darkness that comes and expresses as violence and disturbance and mayhem and these kinds of things. That we have a faith and a trust in this light that we need to invoke, we need to call forward. We're growing, so we have the opportunity to do it in this lifetime for sure, greater than ever before. So we can be more aware of greater light rather than greater darkness. So there's the challenge. When you have the awareness that seems to be more darkness, there seems to be more negativity, that's the invitation from the light to come to the light that is overcoming, that will dispel this darkness and this negativity, perhaps calling us into the light action. So to consider what you can do, it begins within. So it is an inner process first. It begins in seeking God, seeking the qualities of God. Like, who is God? We have a God of love, we have a God of light, we have a God of peace. So to consider that's what we're focusing upon in this darkness, is the light that comes through love, that comes through whatever is needed to transform the situation or your own consciousness so that a new day is present. And you can look upon yourself right now in a consciousness of joy that would put a smile on your face. So I hope you saw that work.
Yes.
And even you said, well, you suggested a smile on my face, and I go, okay, but that works. That really does work. There's an energy in a smile that is the consciousness of peace. So that's one of the things we can actually do to contribute to greater peace in the world is smile. Or could you smile at your enemy? Maybe that's not so easy to do. Could you smile upon a situation that's very disturbing? And maybe that might seem crazy, but perhaps it's the kind of thing like I'm not looking and smiling at destruction. I'm looking at the blessing that is good, that is of loving nature. And that's putting the smile on my face. So the smile is connected into joy, into the presence of peace and love. Maybe I got that all. Oh, look, we're getting a call. So thank you. If there's somebody else in the room here, go ahead and come up to the microphone. And
Thank you, John.
in the meantime, I'll go to somebody who's online if you
It's
want to
my
do it that
friend.
way. Yeah, go ahead and come up here, but we'll go online first if you've got somebody up.
It'll be a moment.
All right, so go ahead, Wendy.
Yeah, my name's Wendy, and what works for me, as far as being more present in peace, is just being present and accepting what's going on around me, and free-form writing, just writing.
How does the free-form writing work in this way for you?
It just works because as I'm doing it, I'll find that I just start to calm down, and I'm breathing, and I feel like I'm letting go of tension or there's negative thoughts, and then I'll have good, useful thoughts that I write on something else, on another piece of paper, and I just like burning it. I take it to the place in Florida, this little stone pit that we built, and of this house that I'm renovating, and I just like burning it. And anyway, it's just what hasn't been working is, and my question, if I can ask one, is what do you do when you find yourself doing something and it really is not what you want to be doing?
Get ready for a change. And if you can change now to a more uplifting, positive focus, do that. There is a positive aspect to acknowledging the againstness, but for the purpose of letting it go, releasing it, so that if we're not acknowledging it, often that becomes something we're avoiding. It would be like in this place if we went outside and all we saw was exactly what happened on 9/11 and what perhaps the natural forces like wind and rain and sun had done over the 10 plus years, but not anything in the effort to clear it, to clean it. So I look at the first phase of it was to confront it directly, and whatever could be done immediately in the highest purpose present, to spare lives, to care for those who in some way needed care, to do that as a first response. And as the next response came forward was to consider what is to be done with this place. And there was a kind of a cleanup, very meticulous kind of cleanup that went on, because there were those who wanted to preserve or find the remnants, the remains of those who were here, or even what was here, for whatever value it still contained. So there was a rather exhaustive process that was allowed for that. And now what we have is something that's going to be done in what I would consider is uplifting. First, to heal the hurt, whatever suffering is there, as much as can be done. I'm sure there are people if they were here today, they might say, every day I am brought back consciously to 9/11, that I think in some way about what happened. And so it's a tough assignment to have something like that in your life. And then to have a memorial so that if we come here, that we are reminded of it, but in a way that now what can we do to restore, to replace, to redeem? Some of this requires a spiritual focus. That's the only way I know that it can be redeemed and restored, is through the Spirit. That what took place physically was done. And it can't be undone physically. But what it can be done is that we have an intention that they rest in peace. So we would hold that up, and then we would hold that this place is a resting place, so that those who are tired or those who are in some way challenged by the negativity of the world would come here and find rest, find peacefulness, find inspiration, so that there's an upliftment in what we remember. And even if there's a sorrow, that sorrow is healed, so that there is a joy that comes in. And I see what you were talking about in the free-form writing, that you allow a voice of some kind, like literally the words can come out that express the negativity, not necessarily grammatically correct, because that's not really necessary. It's just, it gets out, it's exteriorized, so you're not containing it or in some way suppressing it inside you, that's important to let it out, and then redirect, so that if you get the negativity out, you need to put something of a positive nature in that place, or often the unconscious habitual nature would go in and recreate it, so that the hurt is recreated, which sounds crazy, and it is, to recreate hurt. But we really need to get beyond the hurt so that it is healed. So if we need to acknowledge the hurt or the suffering, to do that in such a way as that we go toward a positive intention that is the healing, the clearing, the resting, so that we have a peace that is present for all that took place.
Yeah, that's really nice, because what I'm hearing is that I can have a focus. Also, I really like listening to like the turning points of spiritual freedom, emotional freedom, any of those.
Yes.
But
Right.
so would it be true to say then there are times what's been going on is I bought a property over a year ago that it's just beautiful old trees, and it's lovely and down on the water in Fort Lauderdale, and I hadn't really thought about the house that much. And so it has turned into a thing where I wanted it to be like a very natural sanctuary. And when you were talking about just cleaning up ground zero, like this has become where they've knocked out all the windows and doors and just completely gutted everything. And I hadn't really expected that, and I've kind of fought against myself with it, that I could be doing better things with my time.
Well, it sounds like you're in a process that is primarily inner sourced with your own dynamics of whatever is going on for you personally at this time that maybe is unclear, unresolved, perhaps chaotic or even confusing. And yet you're using this process with your new property to work that out. And often it's therapeutic, that there's art therapy and perhaps there's property therapy.
The trees are amazing.
That you do something to help you work through your own issues. And that's something that we've found in the process toward peace, is we need to look at the issues, whatever they are, personally, regardless of whether they make sense to anybody else. Acknowledge those issues in some way and move toward peace in the process that goes there. You know, that it involves acceptance, it involves trust of yourself, involves honoring what you find in your own true experience, honoring others as much as you can, cooperation, many things.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
So do we have somebody on the internet? Looks like we do.
We do. It's Kiji. Hi.
Hello.
Kiji.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, thank you. My name is Kiji, and I'm located at Prana in Los Angeles.
I've been there.
And yeah. Well, I'm really happy to be here because it really does give me an opportunity to share something that I've been wanting to share for quite a long time. I was located at the World Trade Center on 9/11 when it occurred. And during that moment, it occurred around 9 o'clock in the morning on 9/11. I was not far from it, and I watched the whole occurrence. And I was with a group of people, and when it took place, many people, of course, panicked and were quite disturbed and was expressing a lot of anxiety and phobias and fears and all kinds of emotions that go along with a situation like that. However, in my situation, although I was aware of the chaos that was going on, I didn't feel what everyone else was feeling. Instead, I felt steadiness, I felt calmness, I felt peace during that time while it was going on. And I didn't understand those emotions. Why wasn't I participating with everyone else in the chaos? But I didn't feel that. And then further on, I remember Mayor Giuliani passing by, and he said, just remain calm. Don't panic. Just keep walking. Walk with me. And that was so supportive of what I was feeling at the time. But what really moved me was later during the week, a huge occurrence occurred in my life. A tremendous change took place. I got a call to become a participant in huge healing opportunities. And then I was living in New York, living in Westchester, New York, but not far from the city. And I had no intentions of ever leaving New York. But I ended up shortly thereafter in South Korea, participating in large projects. I had no intention of ever coming to Los Angeles. And I was sent from South Korea to Los Angeles, and here I am. And then during the time that I've been in Los Angeles, I've been exposed to lots of situations that create conflict and chaos and disturbances, and I was very confused while I was here. But then I was introduced to this peace awareness organization here and MSIA, and I participated in the workshops here. And every moment that I have come to MSIA, 2 or 3 days before that, there's always extreme confusion in my life. And then all of a sudden, there is a meeting being held at MSIA. So I've been able to bring that under control. Up until this week, my whole week fell apart in the beginning. It's only, Tuesday, beginning of the week, tremendous chaos. And then I receive an email, and here I am at Prana at a peace meeting. So the MSIA, Peace Awareness, has been teaching me, I think, how to bring my own chaos and confusion under control. It has helped me tremendously. So this week, having this situation in my life, today, I am here to learn how to be in the loving, not be distracted by what's happening in my life this week, but be a participant in the peace that's being offered here now. And I'm so grateful to be here, because every time I come here, I find peace.
Thank you. Yeah, you're affirming a number of things. Would you say your name for me, please, again?
My name is Kiji, Kiji.
K-I-J-I.
And my last name is High, H-I-G-H. And this week, yesterday, I finished my 12th month for discourse, which has been really...
Well, you're touching on a number of aspects of our work that are really valuable and not surprising even in the way you relate them, because I heard some recognition in this room for sure, and in myself as well. You know, I'm sure you've heard of the peace that surpasses understanding, and I'm sure you know what that is in your own experience, that you described it very clearly on that day of 9/11, that even though there were those around you who were understandably in panic and distraught, confused and in a sense of chaos, that you were experiencing something very clearly that was calming, and the way you related Mayor Giuliani's response, which is also, I think, what the world witnessed as well, that he was somebody that was clearly in a peaceful focus and an understanding of the situation of what was needed. That, you know, and you know, that I looked at it, that it transcends politics and even office. It's when somebody is charged in their peace awareness, and they know that the responsibility is to bring that peace and to share that peace. And how you were chosen, I often look at that as, again, a spiritual domain, that it comes from our spiritual connection. And it's not to say that anybody who was panicked does not have spiritual connection, but let's just say that perhaps in that moment they were just connected to survival and not necessarily knowing how to go about that when others in some way were being left behind. And so there were those who were running away, even while there were those who were running in. You know, the people that had that responsibilities as firefighters, as police, as emergency responders. You know, and that's often seemingly a contradiction. Why are some moving away while someone else is moving right into the core of what is taking place? You know, that there are callings that we all have. And I look at what we do with peace awareness in our institute and our work, and as well, you referred to the movement of spiritual inner awareness, that work is directly in the spiritual nature, the soul nature, and that it takes us at our worst, at our most disturbed, and often teaches us that we have other avenues, we have other options that go far beyond the value that's in reaction. That there is a value, and I often see the value is, what did you learn when you reacted? You know, one of the simplest learnings, I don't want to do that again, or I don't want to create that again. Is there a way, one, I can move away from whatever that disturbance is or the chaos? Because we didn't do a lot about content, and in a way the content is arbitrary. I'm sure there's plenty of content in your story, but the more important part of this is that we can share a peace awareness, an opportunity to do one simple little thing. Are you aware today of one simple little thing that either you did or you are intending to do for yourself for peace?
Yes. Do you want me to answer
yes,
that
I would
question?
like you to share.
Yes. Today, I got a very irate phone call from someone who was totally out of control, and I just wished them love, and I listened. I really listened, because they were experiencing anxiety. And I listened with love. I really did. And really gave them a different perspective and helped them to focus and find the peace. And I found the peace within myself about a couple of hours ago, and just shared, what I was feeling and how I understood. I understood what they were experiencing, and I felt peaceful. The conversation could have caused me to become like them, totally out of control, but I didn't. I didn't participate in that. I held on to the peace. And then once they became calm, that person became calm, I could pass some of that feeling of love to them, and then they became calmer. Yeah. So.
Well, you described something that's very excellent and a demonstration of how peace, works. I hear the process of acceptance as a way of going towards peace, and listening is in that it's a receptive process to let somebody scream, yell, attack,
Yes.
And yet just to allow that to come through. It's often important to take care of yourself in that kind of a situation, so that if you're in range of something that would hurt you, that you move out of range as best you can. And some of that would be psychically, that there are things that are said energetically that have a disturbing, hurtful effect in the psyche if we're not careful. If we're not careful to release that. And there's something we call a cube of light that John Roger introduced a while back that you can just see. It literally looks like a cube of about 8 feet. Most of us would fit into an 8 foot by 8 foot cube, and to see yourself in that as a light protection, and it's something that is a simple creative imagination awareness that we can do, but you can just see yourself surrounded by this light that protects you as well, and then see it as well for whoever and whatever is involved, that we can extend this radiant light that carries the peace that surpasses understanding, and the loving and a caring that will hold for someone's disturbance so that they can get that out. And often that's what's really needed. I just need to be heard in what is hurting me or angering me in this moment. And then once you tell them, I got your message. And sometimes I've heard us ask people, what do you want me to do with your disturbance? Like, I got your message, but what would you like me to do with your disturbance? And it often is an awareness that, do you really want me to be heard? Because I'm not necessarily going to cooperate with that. But if it's just you want me to be somebody that listens and hears you, I'm listening and hearing, and if it's in a way, and I need to let go of the disturbance. And would you like some water? Or can I tell you a funny story I heard the other day? And it's a way of redirecting what's going on, so it moves away from the disturbance and moves toward the processes that lead to peace. And I'm sure in some way you experienced that today.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Okay.
Okay. That's it.
So what I would like to do, which is part of our format today, is that we're going to meditate on peace and bring ourselves into a peace awareness as an active process. And we like to do things that are active rather than passive, so that we're doing something about peacefulness and creating that to begin with ourselves. So I'll guide you. You can listen along, obviously. I'll describe you or describe for you how I'm experiencing the peace that is present as an opportunity for choosing greater peace. And also we'll do something where we'll look at whatever against us might show up in our awareness right now. So we have the opportunity to send that into resolution, to clear whatever can be cleared, to restore whatever can be restored. So here we go. Let's begin by being aware of this light that is radiant. I see it as a very dynamic light that shimmers, but it also carries calm. So what we're surrounded by, what we experience with us, including that we can breathe in this light like a tonic, that it comes in with calm and clarity, and it goes out so that whatever is needing to be released is any form of tension or disturbance. So we breathe in this calm and clarity of the light, and we breathe out any negativity or disturbance. And we do that as a dynamic process so that you are an instrument of peace, increasing because you have a willingness to increase your peace and to allow that peacefulness to expand. So it fills the place where you are. And sometimes there's a dynamic where you would see this light coming in through the top of the head, that you could feel a sensation of the light into the body. And you could feel it in all parts from head to toe, to fingertips. So everywhere is touched by this radiant light. And it brings peace and it brings harmony, harmonizing whatever needs to release. So if you have any disturbance that is with you, especially from past involvements, it's okay if in some way you're aware of things that seem not to be about your personal life, but perhaps it's as though you're running a newsreel of historic events or past actions. Whatever that is, that you would continue to be aware of this light that is peacefulness, calm, serene, that your mind is bathed in this presence. Bringing you into a consciousness of observation. You have a beautiful ability to look all around, to look to everyone and everything. And yet you are relaxed, so there's no urgency. There's no agenda. It is being done for you. Whatever healing is needed is being done through this light. That we welcome in the divine consciousness that forgives all. However you are aware of that nature, by whatever name, it is a consciousness that has ability to overcome any form of disturbance, violence, or negativity, and bring peace. Peace to all, and that you are a witness to this transformation. You are a bearer of this light of peace. an instrument for making peace. That you could see it wherever you go, that when you enter, whoever you meet, whatever the situation, peacefulness comes with you. You bear it as a reality that transforms all who need this transformation. And in your ability to create peace, you see what is needed. You see the keys to peace, including the willingness to live in peace. That minds are changed. Decisions are made. Choices become peaceful choices, harmonious choices, creating a world that is flourishing, using our ability to create beautiful situations everywhere. The ability to celebrate our differences. That we can appreciate everyone in their goodness. And goodness is what comes forth. So we are in a vision of the potential everyone has to live in peace. What is needed to be seen? What is needed to be heard? To be done? So you see beautiful places. You see wherever people live transforming into harmonious, dynamic places where people thrive, where there's plenty, where there's abundance and prosperity for all, that the world is a world of plenty. So in this understanding, we can hold this vision. We can make it clear that you bear it like a seed of peace. Wherever you are, this peacefulness goes out. Others are affected by your peacefulness. And if you slip or in some way forget, there is the awareness to change and return to the peace immediately, to restore it, to choose it in full, to inspire forgiveness for others as you inspire forgiveness from others. And in this dynamic, you are a light bearer, holding a solid, certain consciousness of light, love, and peace. It is a dedication, and you have the willingness to live this out, to bring it forward, to manifest it into the world. And in your own way, let yourself be touched by the consciousness that is the spirit of peace. That it becomes practical. It begins right here, right now, this day. behold the peace. Beirish Beishan. I'd like to take a moment for some sharing now that comes direct from whatever you're experiencing at this moment in your peacefulness. So for you who are watching from somewhere in the internet land, you can also share. We'll find a way, hopefully, for Julie and others to assist in you sharing with us in the room. Is there anybody who would like to share your experience of peace? And if so, would like you to raise your hand and we'll bring you up. Yes, please.
For me, the peace that I'm experiencing now has a lot of ruthlessness, impeccability, a lot of strength, and it's a lot of like sacrificing, the people-pleasing habits, or trying to kind of be nice to other people, but there is something higher that really lines me up with my purpose of my soul, of being here, then is the part of me that really will help the planet and help other people. So it's sacrificing being liked, sacrificing just part of the cultural bringing of behavior, you know, because that was hiding who I really am. So during that meditation, I was seeing how important it is when I vibrate with who I am. And it seems more like a spiritual warrior than a peaceful, as I used to see a peaceful person, like kind of half dead or very boring, or like, oh my God, you're so peaceful. It's like, oh, you're kind of comatose, kind of. And I was like a warrior princess, more lined up with peace for me. So that was very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have somebody from the internet. Hello.
I don't know how to do this.
My, what beautiful spots you have. Very peaceful.
I think we lost her. Oh, there she
Not
is.
what I wanted to do.
We can hear you. Can you speak?
Oh, okay.
She can speak.
You know what? I just got, okay. Oh my God, you're back. Okay. Trying to figure out how to put this lower, but okay. No, I'm here.
Did you have an experience of
see
your
me?
peacefulness? Well, we're seeing
Yeah.
some giraffes, but we can hear you. So if you have something to say about your experience of peace at this moment, that's what we're looking for. And if not, we'll move on. We'll interpret the silence as a contribution to peace. Does somebody else in the room have something you would like to share? Please come on up.
I'm Lena, and during the closed eye process, I started feeling, I recently broke my wrist with a little fall, and I started feeling like the Statue of Liberty. And I thought, oh, that's so appropriate. We're downtown. And, you know, what was coming to me was how with the various emotions and, you know, pains, anxieties that weren't connected with my incident, that I'm so grateful that, you know, with the traveler and the Christ and the Holy Spirit, that it's going so beautifully, and, I mean, I've had moments where there's, some negativity floating around about various things, but I feel that sense of that triumphant energy that's what I felt like the Statue of Liberty. It's like, yes, 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 the energy, the light is triumphant. And I'm so grateful, to have that peace within me, that even though whatever swirls around that looks negative, that there is still that peace within that, I may stumble around a little bit, but I do end up finding it again. And I also wanted to say, there was a phrase that you used, John, and thank you so much for being here. I love you. Where you said about appreciating the good in each person. And, that's something that I've been working with. It kind of came up in some other contexts about honoring each person, even when I'm having a disturbance about maybe our communication styles are different, or I don't agree with them and I'm in my position and they're in theirs, like coming back to where, I'm going to honor them and just say, okay, they have their quirks, I have my quirks, but I still am going to look for what can I honor, in that person. And that really works for me in bringing me back to my peace. So that's my sharing.
Okay, thank you.
We have a texted question.
Okay.
I would like to read. It's from Sylvia Giussani. And ready? Dear John, hi and thanks for everything and for being such an example of radiating peace. What do you suggest to make peace between the visions that I hold as guiding light, and I have also turned into action and responsibility towards the highest good and the objections, againstness, and power games of the world in general? Peace, love you, and love to all there.
Thank you, Sylvia. It's important that you and all of us as peacemakers, notice I'm saying as peacemakers. I mean, if as warmongers, it'd be a whole different agenda. So that's understanding I'm a peacemaker, not somebody who's going to foment and join the war and go do what the mob's doing or something along that line. So regardless of what you're dealing with from others and againstness and disturbance, that you realize, okay, as a peacemaker, I'm not allowed to go to the againstness. I'm not even allowed to go to like a quitting or I can't do this, because the peacemaker keeps making peace, regardless of the conditions, regardless of the againstness, the nature of the attack. There's a practical level of this that would be, stay out of harm's way, or maybe, stand back, or let that disturbance express itself in such a way as it exhausts itself. In some way, it's like a fire that must burn itself out. And then that begins the process of restoring. What can you do afterwards? And maybe it's more like scorched earth. You're going to regenerate, restore, replenish what's there rather than try to rebuild. Sometimes you need to start over, start in a new way. And that can be changing the subject, if there's an argument, and just redirecting it in some way and holding in your commitment to peace. So you keep bringing up peace, and even if somebody else is bringing up against this, or it won't work, or it can't happen, or you're never going to do it, you keep bringing up peace. Not as a way to challenge somebody or defy them, but more as a way that you represent peace. You hold peace, and that's the coin in your purse. That's what you have as your response. Thank you. Yes, come on up.
Hi, John.
Hi.
My name is Jim. What came up for me after that meditation, I was just thinking about my work in the world is really devoted to making music with others publicly and singing. I'm a conductor, a choral conductor, and it's been striking me recently, and I mean, just what a beautiful place of peace is created when people sing together. And I'm just very blessed to be in that line, or whatever that is. And I also recalled there was, I don't know, like several years ago, there was a sharing about harmonics and like the harmonics of peace, and you had shared something about that and tuning into the harmonics, and I had related to that from, you know, when you sing a tone, there are harmonics, and sometimes we do that exercise with my choir where we sing a tone and they tune into the harmonic series, and so that's, but it's like something that doesn't seem like it's there when you initially focus on the tone, but then you just kind of lift your awareness, and you can all of a sudden hear this beautiful series of things, and it's very physical vibration. And so I guess so I'm blessed to be aware of that, and I'd also love to bring that into my own awareness of creating peace in circumstances where I myself personally feel out of balance. And the other thing that was just coming up for me, I'm on my way to Japan to conduct Brahms' Requiem, which is one of the next week, in fact, and it's one of the most, to me, just a very heartfelt statement about blessing people who are left behind after a tragedy. And so, and being here is just, you know, thinking of 9/11 and thinking of Japan and 3/11 and then, so I just would love, I was planning to write to you and JR about my trip, and I thought I might as well stand and ask for your blessing. And
well, thank you.
As a, you know, bearer of peace in that situation, for the strength just to hold whatever needs to be held in there. So, and
well, you're bringing up that you have a beautiful ministry and a gift in your life and your work, indeed, with the harmonics of peace and the ability to step into a circumstance such as what has happened in Japan, and bring a focus through music, through the voice, the harmonics of voice, with the intention of seeding the peace there with the sound and the vibration. And you know, I think you're absolutely correct, right on, that there is an ability to sing peace into a circumstance, you know, so that we can sing the song of the soul. We can sing the song of the soul's peace, and that can come even without words, so that it's not even necessary for the voice to have, you know, the forms of words or lyrics in order to do this harmonic. But often the words in some way help us understand mentally, you know, what we're hearing that's so beautiful. Like if we heard something beautiful in a foreign language, we would want to know, what are you saying? You know, what is the message in what you're saying? Because I know it's beautiful. And sometimes it's better to just understand it's not about the words, it's about the experience.
I'm just smiling because I have a choir. We're doing a program actually this weekend. It's called Joy Beyond Words, and it's just about that exactly. It's like, and we're actually doing this piece that the composer wrote the music first and added words later.
Should we tell them we already discussed this, or?
Yeah, right. We
just joking. This is spontaneous piece here. Yes. God bless you.
Thank you, John. Thanks.
Let's see. Yes. Okay. We have somebody vibrantly wanting to share from the internet. Here we go. You're on. And you're on. I think it's Michael Zachary, who was just blessed the other night. Is that right, Michael Zachary?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear us? Yes, yes. I'm sorry, we can't hear ourselves. Can you hear us?
We can hear you. If you can hear us, we are indeed hearing you.
Terrific. Well, thank you. Yes, I'm Lisa. This is Michael. Thank you again for a beautiful baby blessing, John. It was very heartfelt and appreciated. And I find, of course, peace with him. But another way I find peace is when I take something I got from you, which is instead of living in a fearful, contracted state, living in one of expansiveness, where the loving inside of me just kind of enfolds me, and I enter into that situation just knowing that I'm protected by the divine loving, and that brings a tremendous sense of peace. An intention I'd kind of like to set, and I'm certainly open to feedback, is wanting to really come into a greater acceptance with the world the way it is. If there's a situation that comes forward that I'm expecting to be different, me and my finite wisdom, just really wanting to come into greater acceptance with the way things are, and knowing that the learning is perfect, even if it's not always comfortable the way that I might like it to go.
Good on you. Yes, and that's a great intention in what we're doing today in this gathering of peacemakers, is to set an intention for how we can do something today and every day. And I heard you articulate that, that you can focus in finding the good every day and move from a disturbance to what we're appreciating. That if we took what I shared earlier about on 9/11, with what was going on at this place, this location where we're gathered here today, that there were people running away with a sense of urgency, but there were people running in with another kind of sense of urgency to help and to do some good, even at the level of the possibility that it could be a sacrifice, a sacrifice that families and friends are still experiencing 10 years later. But in some way honoring that sacrifice, and that every hit is a price paid. That there's a balancing action of some kind, a debt that is cleared, and to be thankful in that clearing, like that we can look at the hit, the disturbance, and in some way register, okay, there's a balancing that has been placed here to balance out something. And when we hear the words never again, that's also a call for peace everlasting, that this was enough, this sacrifice was enough, and that we would honor those who stepped into the sacrifice, even if it was unconscious in the way that they did it, that we would consider at the level of our soul that in some way there was agreement to be part of that sacrifice that let us have an occasion here where we do what can be done so that this is the last one. And that may seem like an impossible thing when we keep hearing of new wars or new conflicts in the world, but that we hold as Peacemaker that possibility to seek in every disturbance, every negative occurrence, that there's a cause of peace in this. And part of that would be the sacrifice, the price that's been paid, from the disturbance, that somebody has accepted or in some way cooperated with a loss, that they in some way are taking the responsibility for that loss, and then issuing it forth as, let us now have gain, let us now have new causes of good, of greater good, and that we would be able to be thankful for every person who gives their life in a moment, for a cause of, let us have peace from this action, from this loss that has been endured, that would be an honoring, that something really good now comes from it, a positive change that lasts and lasts past it ever needing to take place again. God bless you. I think what I'd like to do is turn this toward the opportunity that we're all having here to move over to the memorial. I'm assuming that we may all have that opportunity, but that we would have it, if nothing else, on the internet for those of you who choose to continue. And what I'd like to do that came forward a few moments ago is to have a moment of peace through silence. And that we would find something deeper in this moment of silence that represents the voice that in a way speaks through silence. That if you've ever, and I'm sure you have, been to a situation, particularly in memorials, whatever they might be, that there's often a call to come into the silence and to listen in the silence of what is being spoken to us about this place and this situation, and that we would hear those who in some way no longer have a voice in a person, but maybe they have a voice in our heart, that we can be attuned to every place and perhaps hear the disturbance and bring peace to that disturbance. I have that experience quite often in my work, in my ministry, that I become aware of a disturbance, a conflict of some kind that's remaining in the situation, or that somehow I'm attuned to in the moment. And it brings me into a quiet. That's how I often refer to it, because I'll change my demeanor, so I go quiet. And it's almost like, well, what's wrong? You were in your way outgoing, and now you're withdrawn. It's like, it's often, well, I'm called to be within. I'm called to be silent right now as I hold for whatever transformation, whatever peacefulness is being brought forward. And Lord, we welcome in your presence that comes in the invisible and in the silence, that we hold for it, especially those in spirit who work through silence and help us understand in a very deep way, past our mind, past whatever our sense levels, so that we come into this silence knowing we will triumph, we will endure. And the causes that are in triumph and enduring are those that are of an eternal, benevolent nature. So we find your understanding that you bring always in the silence. For those who wait for the understanding, who endure the patience, who bring forward the actions, that we are those who come into this understanding through the silence in this place at this time. And for the world, that we would hold in this moment of peace that comes through the silence. Beirish Beshan. trust those of you who are watching and listening online are experiencing the richness of the silence we're experiencing in this room. Thank you for that contribution. And I think, Robert, is it you that's coming up and sharing some information?
Mark and I, yes.
Oh, okay. Please welcome Robert and Mark, who have some more information for what's next. And thank you, and God bless you all for joining us here.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. It's good to see everybody. Thank you, John. I love you.
Travelers Ministry of Peace through the Institute of Individual and World Peace continues. There's something on Thursday, July 5th at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Los Angeles, a gathering of peacemakers, which you're invited to participate in. You can also watch the gathering via broadcast, and for more information, you contact the Office of the Institute for Individual and World Peace. Also, there are projects, expressions of the Travelers Ministry of Peace, which you can find out through the website www.iiwp.org. Now we're going to be moving forward with this action of peace to what was called Ground Zero, now the World Trade Center site, to move this Ministry of Peace forward and use it hopefully as a springboard for greater peace for this city and for this planet. And we invite you to continue to participate online, and we're pleased to be of service.
Yes. So many of you that know me, I actually worked at the Trade Center, and many of you know me, a lot of the things that happened after that. And for me, my ministry is very much about what's going on there. So one of the things that we did is we created a John Roger tribute. And some of you people, have anybody gone to see this at all? Anybody's gone to the memorial? Hands? Okay, well, if you look around the room, you see people's hands. There's no guides in this place. So you might want to, see these people and ask them some questions. Anyway, inside the place, there's these kiosks. And if you type the name John Roger in there, you're going to see these little things come up on the screen, and you could print them. And it's locations where we planted cobblestones in John Roger's names with things that dedication messages that will be quite familiar to you in the teachings of the traveler. Also with that, in this peace ministry, we're asking for light columns and doing a light service and the grace of God, whatever you're called to do. My experience in going there is, in the spirit, you're going to know what to do. You're going to really feel this. For me, this is a very sacred space. John Roger has talked about when many people pass, the ground is sacred, and this is one of the places ideally that I really feel it, and I've been to some places in my life. And we welcome you to go. We're meeting on Thames and Trinity Place, which is just up the block. About 6:30 is check-in time. There's going to be hosts from the memorial, and there's a kiosk there. They're going to give us passes. We expect to go in within 15 or 20 minutes. We're going to be expedited in, all of us. The actual entrance is 7 o'clock, but as soon as we could get in, we're going to go. And in that time space, we expect about 7:50 or so. Just keep an eye on the time. You might not know where your feet are, but if you ask the Spirit what to do, you'll get it. We left a little message for you, a little sheet. Everybody has one of these? If not, we have them. Okay?
They're out on the front table if you don't have one, and they're a location for where we suggest you meet at about 10 to 8 for a gathering and possibly a blessing from John Morton to close.
Yeah, about
Peacemaker.
10 to. Yes. Yes. Also, if you'd like to go to the preview site, if anybody would like to go there, we're going to see any hands. We have a little bit of time. If you'd like to meet downstairs, because we have a little time before 6:30 to meet at the check-in point on Thames and Trinity. If you'd like to take a walk up the block to Vesey, there is a place called the preview site. It has a lot of information about the artifacts, about a lot of the stories that go on in the memorial, and just a lot of information. If you'd like to go, I'll be downstairs, and I'll love to escort you up there and back down. It's about a 5 or 10 minute walk. 5 minutes. What's that, Melba? Yeah, there's restrooms here. The memorial has no facilities, no food, no drink, travel light, literally. You could leave stuff here if you like. We're going to come back to the room. If anybody wants to volunteer to do takedown later, you're welcome to come back too. Okay, thank you very much. God love you. Peace be still. Louisa? Where are we meeting to get this? Thames and Trinity Place. It's right up the block. Like right now? 6:30. 6:30 is check-in time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In the silence of my room, sunlight dances on the wall and I hear you call. I see the world beyond my window. It greets me with a new day. Endless visions of your love prepare the world for me. And the love in your eyes when you smile at me, it moves me to the depths of my soul. On the road through open fields, stars in the sky, miles and miles ahead of me. Again you're there to comfort me and guide me through the night. Through the stillness I can hear the whisper of your heart and the love in your eyes when you smile at me. It moves me to the depths of my soul. Like a dream of paradise, you dwell within my heart, and in the presence of your love, life begins anew. In the morning on the shore, feet in the sand, head in the clouds as I think of you. You clear away the darkness and fill me with your light. In the coolness of the breeze, together we will rise. And the love in your eyes when you smile at me, it moves me to the depths of my soul. Yes, it moves me to the depths of my soul. And it reaches in